What's up guys, my name is Devin, also known as FPE, and welcome back to another episode of Footballrs. In today's video, we're going to be unboxing and reviewing the Nike Vapor Edge 360 Pro 2. Let's do it. Alright guys, so here are the cleats. Again, these are the Nike Vapor Edge 360 Pro 2. Let's take a look at the tag. We got these in an 8.5, and this is kind of their new box. We saw these on the Speeds. It's like a cardboard box you can reuse for shipping. Let's get them open. I forgot what color we got. Ooh, we got red. Let's go. These are stupid clean, dude. Alright guys, so check it out. Here are some of the newest football cleats from Nike. We finally got our hands on them. We just dropped a review on the Speed, hopefully not too long ago. And here are the Pros. We got them in the, let's check the color code. These are the University red and white, so a very traditional Nike colorway. These things are unreal. We have had a couple pairs already, including something you guys have probably seen in the backdrop, this little Kyler Murray PE. But finally, I got some in my size to review for you guys, and I'm super pumped. This is the most excited I've been about a Nike football cleat in quite some time. It just looks so good, and Nike hasn't really dropped anything new for a while. They kind of rolled with the Nike Vapor Edge 360 Pro 1s for a very long time. This is a Nike by You colorway of those. Honestly, not a huge fan. They are still one of the best performing cleats on the market, hands down. But these they look unreal. They look really good. I'm really excited. All right, guys, so in these unboxings, we're going to talk about the cleat. Let me get all the cardboard out for you guys, get the paper out so you can really get a sense of what this cleat's all about. And then later in the video, we are going to do a full review. My first impression is that this is a lot more flexible than I initially expected. They are really flexible. I'm really liking this material. I don't really know what to call it exactly, but it's really cool. It's like a fuse, I want to say. It's like a fuse TPU over mesh. That's my guess. They do still have kind of this cuff booty that goes through the whole cleat, similar to they had on this cleat. But what I'm really excited about is that the laces are back. So as you guys see, the originals, the laces were covered. They're kind of a pain to get really tight because you couldn't really get in there and yank each one individually. But they brought the laces back, and I can't get over this silhouette. It's so clean, it's so streamlined, and that's something I'm all about. And this cuff is incredible. Speaking of, check out the little Nike logo kind of embedded in the cuff. Do you guys see that? How cool is that? These have the same stitching that we saw on the Speeds. We do have a little vapor detail right here. Nike swoosh. Looks like we've got some ventilation, which is nice. The originals, I mean, there's no room for air escape on these whatsoever, so that's going to be really nice. A nice mesh cuff here. And then, let's see, the tongue itself is like a nice mesh. Oh, you guys can even see my finger, so that's going to be, it should be, really breathable, which is always nice. And some more vent holes here on this side. If you get your toes stepped on wearing these, you're going to feel it. It's really flexible. But these are a lot lighter than I expected. I can't remember what these weighed, but they definitely feel a little bit clunkier than these. So that's really exciting. We've got the same, strong heel cup in the back. Looks like we've got some overlays here. It's a different material than this, or it's just covered up by an overlay. We do have this middle seam here covered up, which is nice. So that's going to be, that's just kind of plays to the durability of the cleat. The traction plate is the Edge traction plate. We've talked about it a billion times on this channel. Two-piece construction, edge studs at the outermost parts of your foot, and it is pretty good. Look at this unique kind of texture we got going on here. And again, we've got some more extra stitching right here. Not really sure what that's about. Again, we finally have traditional lacing, which is amazing. And then we do have what they call the racer's loop. So you see this on running shoes, so you guys can kind of, it gives it so you can tie it a special way to get some serious heel lockdown, because it kind of ties in your foot here, kind of jams it in here so it doesn't move around at all. That's going to be really exciting. It was on the Speeds as well. One of my favorite parts about these is that we've got two loops. Look at that, two pull tabs, so you guys can really stretch this thing out and get your foot in there, no problem. Speaking of, let's take a peek at that insole, shall we? We got it. Let's check out the insole. It says Vapor, and then there's a little Pro logo. It does say Pro, but this is the same insole that's been in all the Vapor Edges. It does have this unique grid on the back, and this grid actually kind of locks into this plastic shank. You guys have probably seen it in other videos, but there's a plastic shank that kind of runs through the base of the cleat, and that's what's going to give it its structure and kind of its snappy. Just kind of comparing the two, they're very different. Of course, you guys know this one had ghost lacing. It has a cuff that's a different material and it doesn't go up as high. It only has a heel loop. They do have the same traction plate, and then as you guys can see, this one did not have a cover over this kind of middle stitched area, and this one does. So that might have been a point of failure with these cleats. I don't know, I never wore any enough to wear them down, but it would make sense if this started to kind of fall apart, and that would explain why it's covered up now. Overall, this is another super clean silhouette from Nike. I'm excited to see how it performs on the field. I'm excited to see how well it breathes through these vents. I mean, the edge plate, we know what to expect with the edge plate, but I am wondering about how tight you can really lace these up, because like I said last year, you couldn't really get a super tight fit because of the lacing system, but these, that should not be a problem whatsoever. I'm gonna try out this runner's loop, see how it feels, see if it really does give you that nice heel lockdown. So let's get into the review part of the video. Here are the things we're gonna cover in the review: the comfort, the fit and support. We're gonna weigh the cleat, the traction, the style, what positions these cleats are best for, and lastly, the price. We're gonna kick it off by talking about the comfort. These feel good. They feel very, very similar to the original Nike Vapor Edge 360 Pros. They're a very raw feeling football cleat, and they don't have as much padding as we saw on the updated Speed 2.0s. In the heel, we have the exact same padding as in the original cleat. It's like this thin bar of padding. I do really wish they had added the pods that they added in the Speeds, because those just feel so much better, and the padding is so much thicker, and you just don't get as much heel pain as you do with these. Like, the padding in this feels alright, but I just know they could have done so much better. This cleat does have some sort of booty kind of woven in underneath the upper, and it feels really nice. I've always loved the booties from Nike. You guys know I love ankle cuffs, and this one is a little bit bigger and a little bit thicker than the past one. It really helps you feel kind of locked in when you put your football cleat on. I just love the feeling of a cuff around my ankle. And now they also have a front tab and a rear tab, so getting these on is no problem. You just kind of grab it like that and stretch it open. The insole on these is exactly the same as all the other Nike Vapor Edges we reviewed on the channel. It's just a really thin piece of foam. It doesn't really absorb any impact. The insole has kind of this grid-like pattern underneath, and it kind of locks into this plastic shank that runs beneath it, and this kind of gives that cleat this nice, snappy, raw feel. Overall, these cleats feel very, very similar to the OGs. It's basically like wearing the same cleat. If you close your eyes, you don't really notice a difference as far as the comfort goes. The next thing we're going to talk about is the fit and support. Again, these cleats are going to fit you just like the originals did. So if you guys got a size 10 in these, you're going to want a size 10 in these as well. The best thing about this updated model is that they finally went back to the traditional lacing system. With this last model, you couldn't really access the majority of the laces, so you couldn't kind of tighten up each one independently, so you couldn't really get a lockdown fit. But now that they are exposed again, you can, no problem. They also added an extra eyelet at the very top, and you guys can kind of see it's kind of set below the rest of them. This is what they call a racer's loop, which is something we see very often on running shoes. This extra hole allows you guys to tie these cleats in a very specific way that gives you extra heel lockdown. When I tested these out, I did do one of the cleats that way so I could kind of test one versus the other, and it felt amazing. The heel lockdown was fantastic. Coming into these reviews, I was unaware of the racer's loop. I didn't really understand why Nike had added this weird eyelet kind of below the rest. But once I tied it up that way, it felt so good. I'm so glad they added this to their entire Nike Vapor Edge line this year. It just locks down the cleat to another level. It's almost too tight. Overall, the lacing system, I'm so glad they went back to the traditional laces. It's just way, way, way above the Ghost lacing system. The Ghost lacing system looked pretty cool, don't get me wrong, but you just did not get the lockdown that you get with these. Now, as far as support, there's not really a ton. The cleat is pretty thin and flexible, as you guys saw in the unboxing, and you're not going to get any true ankle support from this cuff because it is just a knit material. But at the end of the day, the goal of these cleats is speed and fit. So if you guys want something with a little bit more support, I would suggest you check out the Nike Alpha line. Overall, these cleats feel just like the originals, but they did go back to the traditional lacing system, so you guys can get these so much tighter and just have so much more lockdown, and the cleats truly feel like they're part of your foot. And adding this extra eyelet, massive W. The next thing we're going to talk about is the weight of these cleats. These cleats weigh in at 10 ounces in a size 8.5, so obviously if you guys have a size 12, it's going to weigh a little bit more. But these cleats are a tad lighter than the originals, which is pretty exciting. Honestly, with all this extra added stuff that they did, I did not think that they would be lighter, but here we are. I do think cutting out that Ghost lacing system did drop some weight for sure, but with all the added stuff, all the added overlays and stuff that they did to this cleat, I'm still pretty surprised that it's lighter than that one. They also added a lot of features that's going to increase the durability of the cleat, like the added stitching you guys see on the sides, the thicker overlay on the bottom, and then the thicker ankle cuff material. Overall, these hit that nice 10-ounce threshold, which is kind of the difference maker between a light cleat and a heavy cleat, but they're still lighter than some of the stuff from Under Armour and Adidas. The next thing we're going to talk about is the traction. Of course, these cleats have the Nike Edge traction plate, one of the best traction plates in football. We've talked about it a ton on the channel already. This is a two-piece construction. You've got the foreplate and the heel plate, and then you've got these nice edge studs at the outermost parts of your foot. So when you go to cut, that's the first thing in the dirt, so you guys can get in and out of cuts super quick. The cleat itself is also pretty stiff and snappy because of that plastic shank that kind of runs beneath the insole. Overall, there's not really much else to say that hasn't already been said about this traction plate. You guys know I love it. I think it's the best in football, and I think it's perfect for skill guys. The next thing we're going to talk about is the style of this cleat. It kind of reminds me of kind of a futuristic take on some of Nike's old stuff. These vent holes right here on the side loosely resemble the lines that were on the Nike Vapor Carbon Elite 2014. Pretty good look. Then you've got this big swoosh on the outside, the little swoosh on the inside. We have the Vapor branding up close to the toe, and then again on that front pull tab. I think this red colorway is easily one of my favorites, and I'm not usually a fan of red, but Dick's Sporting Goods has about 10 other colorways as well, and a lot of them are super duper clean. Overall, these are easily some of the cleanest looking cleats on the market, and you guys are going to see these everywhere for the next couple years, I promise you. Like all the other Nike Vapor cleats, these are a speed, skill football cleat. They're built for QBs, running backs, wide receivers, and defensive backs. They're built with speed and agility in mind for the fastest players on the field. The next thing we're going to cover is the price. These are Nike's mid-tier skill football cleat option. The speeds are 100, these are 125, and the elites are 200. 125 seems to be the new average rate for football cleats, and for that 125, you get one of the best skill football cleats on the market. And Nike has added a lot of stitching and extra overlays to make sure this cleat is going to be durable and last you a long time. Overall, I absolutely love these cleats, and I think we're quickly going to see these kind of take over and be the most popular cleat amongst all levels of football. They look good, they fit great, and they have some of the best traction in football, all for the price of 125 bucks. You can't really do much better than that. These are definitely one of the best value football cleats on the market. There you guys have it. There's the full unboxing review on the Nike Vapor Edge 360 Pro 2 football cleats. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, like this video, comment what you guys want us to review next, and subscribe for more videos just like this one. My name is Devin, also known as FBE, and thank you guys so much for tuning into another episode of Footballrs.